welcome to MNFT Freedom, episode 3. Tonight we have Rochelle and Carmen joining us, and let me bring up Rochelle. Hey, ladies, how are you doing this evening?
Fair to fine.
Good. Well, you know, it is Friday the 13th, and we're almost through it. So
it is
that's
Friday the 13th. 13th is a
We almost made it.
Yeah, almost. So tonight, we up until tonight, we've covered, a little bit about the mental state of, getting your mind in the right place, as far as, starting your financial journey, and an overview of what MNFT is all about and what the Future of Finance Conference in Atlanta's that's coming up is going to be built upon. And tonight, ladies, I think we have a really unique topic that is going to really relate to a lot of people, especially coming off the holidays. So, Rochelle, Carmen, why don't you ladies share what that is?
So we're going to be covering emotional consumerism. A mouthful, big mouthful, but we're going to take a bite out of it, right? It is that need that we feel when we buy things, and you're going to get used to it. You're going to keep hearing that needs and that want list, right? It's going to be a reoccurring theme, guys. That needs and that want list, and you'll find that when you take a look at your spending habits, you won't believe how much of that is emotional, right? And this is how we start to peel back the layers of our needs and our wants list, in order to facilitate a pathway to financial freedom, right? It is the narrative of wanting that car versus taking the train because you don't like people, right? Or getting on the bus. That's a want.
Yep.
Right? That's a want. It's not a need. It's a want. You have access to transportation, right? But it's a want, right? So it's balancing that fine act of buying with emotion versus buying emotionless. And you're supposed to invest emotionless, right? Buying, investing should be an emotional-less experience. And because we're in so much of a consumerism society here, we consume everything. We consume, right? TVs don't work, you throw it away, you buy another one, right? So it's really starting to break the pattern and introduce into small bites ways that we can help each other learn, grow, prosper, and not just survive. We want to thrive, right?
Yeah. Rochelle, I'm going to stop you right there, because tonight we not only have Yomi, the crystal goddess, returning, but we also have a doctor in the house.
Yeah, give it up for the doc. Give it up for the doc.
Yeah. So let me bring them in from the green room.
Crystal lady. She's our example of emotion consumerism, and Scott being a bad no friend. Right?
So first, we'll bring Lord of the Crystals in. Welcome, Yomi. How you doing
Yomi.
Peace and greetings. How is everyone tonight?
Good.
Oh, she sounds all ready.
Yes, she does. And Dr. Tammy Francis, how are you doing?
Tammy. Look at you with your gorgeous self. How are you, darling? We can't hear you.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Self, because I was doing a lot in the background. Hello, everyone. How are you?
I'm fangirling out, Scott. I'm sorry, I'm fangirling out a little bit. Absolutely adore Dr. Tammy. So yes, really, really excited for who we have.
Yeah, and I'll let Dr. Tammy tell us a little bit about herself, but her bio is just, through the roof, to the moon. Awesome.
Tell us.
That's a whole story, right? So we.
Yeah. That's that's a mini series right there, or the beginning of, right?
And Scott, that was the short version. I had already.
Oh my goodness!
Like a page.
Yeah. Well, it's tough when you set your mind to it and you've accomplished everything that you have, to shorten and sum it up into a short, summary. So I applaud you for the shortness that it was. I'm,
I'm working
I'm
on it.
curious to see how much shorter you could get it. I don't know if you can, but welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me. I'm Dr. Tammy, success strategist, consultant, educator, author, and speaker. I help you move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And I do that in many ways, many ways. And we're going to talk probably about a couple of those today. So we'll get into it. But yeah, and that's why my bio is so long, because I have a different philosophy as approaching when I'm approaching the things that I do and how I do them. So we'll get into that. Thank you for
Nice.
having me. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. It's a pleasure being here. This is going to be fun.
And Carmen, this is the first time you're on, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a hard act to follow after Dr. Tammy. But I've been in blockchain for about 2 years. I actually recently celebrated my 2-year anniversary on the 10th, 3 days ago. Woohoo, we survived. And it's been a wild journey, but where I stand right now is I'm head of business development for Clear Cryptos, which is a decentralized exchange, and I also work with the Government Blockchain Association. In my time, you'll kind of find me everywhere, like on stage. I like to explain my role and my passion here in the Web3 space as, first, I'm a community member. And so that's the love and energy that you'll get from me. I'll show up in your chats. I'll educate whoever you need. I'll sit down and have coffee and open up a MetaMask with somebody. But along the way, I've made a lot of great friends, and I've advised and worked with over 150 developers.
Wow. That's awesome. Awesome. So we were talking about emotional consumerism. Rochelle kind of broke the water. I don't know how much of that you ladies heard. I hope Carmen heard everything because she was here. But so
Listening ears on.
yeah, right. So yeah, emotional consumerism is it's one of those things that is, it kind of catches you off guard. You don't realize you're doing it until after you've done it, right? So, it's our subconscious saying, we need to feel better about ourselves, or, we feel bad and we need something to make it better. And we hope an item's going to do that. And you end up spending money to acquire that item, but you've ultimately find out that it really doesn't change your overall mood, right? And Dr. Tammy, I mean, by all means, you're the professional here. So, please chime in, any one of you ladies, at any time.
So let me just be clear. So I know many people associate a PhD with psychology. I do have a psychology degree. However, I'm an educator first. I thought about that. Wait a minute. I do have a psychology degree, but that's not what my PhD is in. However, this is something that I think a lot about, because I think about growing up and how, my community. And when I say that, whether it was family, friends, those that were around me, approach buying and purchasing, and how some of those things, because I think I was telling Rochelle this, is that I was not poor, but we couldn't afford the other OR. So we were just po. And so because of that, a lot of I know my parents, my family's money went to those things that we need to survive, and the necessities, food, shelter, right? Those sorts of things. And so when buying occurred, that's when, and unnecessary buying occurred, that's when I noticed that emotional buy. Something happened, something traumatic happened either in the community or in our family, and something was purchased. So I think I know more of this from experience rather than education, so to speak.
Hey, by all means. And, I'm not a psychology major or anything like that. I went to college to be a secondary art teacher, and here I am not doing that.
None of us are doing what we planned.
You
That's
can
the
apply it
truth.
all to this space, and that's the cool thing about moving into Web3 and those things that we do with Web3. You can apply it in different ways now, so that's awesome. Hi, Terry.
I think for for a lot of us, and why, Scott comes from the financial part of it, right? Um, for me, it's about the emotion. There's that mindset, like from cradle to grave, we're programmed. And I feel that more being a woman of color, being a neurodivergent parent, being a neurodivergent myself than most, because we're heavily marketed to. And so for me, when I talk about trying to create wealth, because that's what we're doing, we're trying to create wealth out of nothing, because that's what we have. And so for me, putting this together and taking a look at how do I help people, because Scott and I share those life experiences, right? Like we created wealth out of nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that it had to do with consistency. We knew that it had to do with putting in the work. We knew that it had to do with making sure that we're sticking to that budget. And we knew that it had to do with the separation of that needs and wants list. And so we wanted to take a different approach in these Friday night sessions, meeting people where they're at. We don't want to beat people over the head with the knowledge from an academic standpoint, but from life experiences, right? Like Scott and I, we giggled halfway through last week, just talking about our life experiences and how we coped with depression in finance, right? And that toxic relationship it has. And Yomi was really excited last week when we said this week, that's what we're talking about, emotional consumerism, right? Because of her obsession with crystals and mines with NFTs. All right, we shouldn't be buying those things. Right? And Scott is getting him to not roll his eyes when his lovely wife Megan spends 2 hours in me time of self-care on her nails, right? So I love the fact that we have a very diverse group that's going to be talking about this from our life experiences, where I think people can really identify, right? So it's not about, we're not healthcare professionals. We only offering up tips and tricks that we've utilized in our lives to get us where we're at, and we're still learning and growing, and we're hoping to share that journey together.
Yeah, and that's what's great about this space, and what I love about it is that we are educating, but we're educating through conversation, just kind of like you're sitting down with a friend and chatting about personal experiences, not what's in the textbook, right? And with personal experiences, let's bring up Lord of the Crystals and have her talk about some personal experiences, or I should say Lordess of the Crystals. Yomi. She's not paying attention.
God, no, I'm paying attention. So
She's ignoring me.
I don't have my headset, so I'm kind of like, I don't function well with having my phone in my hand. I like to walk around and stuff, so I can't do that right now. But yeah, that I think I had a conversation about this. I can't even say if that conversation that I had earlier with Rochelle was in regards to this. It's kind of like, for me, emotional consumerism was, if I'm not feeling necessarily good about something and I went and bought something, but I didn't necessarily tie it together. I didn't realize that I was buying something to feel better. So yeah, buying crystals, of course, it doesn't matter how I feel. I'll buy crystals whether I feel good or bad. It doesn't matter. So I'm not going to necessarily say that crystals are what ties it in. But for instance, like, I used to like to treat myself. Like I would like maybe buy I don't know, like ice cream or candy or something, and it would be like a treat that I didn't realize I bought it because I needed to feel better. And I didn't necessarily need it, but I realized that I was doing that, and someone had to point out to me that I was actually buying these little treats or buying these little things that I didn't need. It could have been like a pen or a notebook, or like it just a touch on candy, because that's just something that popped into my head. But any little thing, because I felt like I needed to reward myself for whatever.
Yep.
And the it turns out that whenever you buy that trinket, that piece of candy, or whatever it is, you felt good buying it in the moment because in that moment you felt like you could afford it. You could, you could obtain it. It wasn't inaccessible to you. So it made you feel good in that moment.
Yep.
But did you really need it?
Yeah.
And did it fully serve the purpose? So it gets kind of, sometimes it gets kind of confusing. And Rochelle just talked to me today and she was like, okay, so do you need it or do you want it? And I was telling her, no, I don't necessarily need it, but I want it because I know it'll make me feel better.
Right.
And what I was talking about, to me, in my opinion, was, oh no, it won't be instant gratification, and it won't be something that's going to, the having that item is not going to go away quickly. Oh, it's going to make me feel good for a long time, you know. And she still was like, well, if that's what you want, then you have to start with little things. You have to start with little means of obtaining what you want. You can't just sit there and have this big grandiose idea that I want this and I'm going to get this now.
Right.
And she was like, no, you have to have these little moments, or these, have small steps to build up to get what you need, versus always looking at what you want and what you don't have. So that emotional consumerism, I deal with that every day. I have these moments where it's just, I can't see my way out of whatever situation I'm in, and it's just, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to quit now. I'm done now, and what can I do to make myself feel better? And instantly something pops in your head, that it's something that you can obtain right away, but it's not necessarily going to make you feel better or even fix your problem.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
also, I think, breaking down the vicious cycle, right? We've got to be cognizant of what it is we're lacking, and we can't be afraid to put in the work. That work is emotional literacy. What it is are you trying to fill? And then, because you go through a cycle, right? So you buy based on emotion, and then you're stuck in that vicious cycle, because once you bought it, you obtain it, you enjoy it momentarily, and then the rest of the cycle, 75% of the cycle, is the regret phase.
Yep.
And then you're caught right back in the cycle again, buying again to feel better.
I'm
Yep.
so glad you said
Sorry, go
regret,
ahead.
mistress, because okay, when mistress told me what the topic was going to be tonight, I'm like, that's my vibe. And I've had this conversation, and I try to draw back the curtain so people can see behind the screen, because when you have conversations like this and how it pertains to the blockchain, you're being preyed upon as a consumer. Okay. Your guilt, your decision to emotionally buy happens the moment that you hand over your credit card. Everything's really fuzzy before and after. And even after that, you can feel regret, and then you do a return, and we have a process for all that. But I kind of want to pull back the screen and explain some things, because a lot of people look inward and they take full accountability and they say, I spent the money, I made the decision. They didn't have access to my money because I handed over the money or the credit card or the PayPal or whatever. But you got to understand that there's a process that you're being plugged into. I worked in retail as a leader for 22 years. So I'm a part of that machine, and I worked in that machine and I helped design parts of that machine. So when retailers are looking at you, from the moment that you meet a brand as a consumer, you're probably going to touch that brand 8 or 9 times, whether you check out their Facebook, their TikTok, you see a commercial on TV, you walk by one of their stores, you see somebody else wearing their stuff, whatever it is, but you're getting hit with it, and then all of a sudden you decide to engage on your own consumer level. Now, teams that are there to assist you and help you and guide you are under marching orders. Okay, so businesses in the retail consumer space, think about you in these three facets. Are you a brand new customer for growth? Do you buy enough, and can we get you to buy more, which is revenue? And loyalty, which is, will you stay coming back to us, and will you refer us to your friends? And that's how we look at the entire system. And that's how we train our teams. That's how we talk about the customer engagement strategies. That's how we decide what the call to action is going to be on marketing materials. And so when you're sitting there, you are really being walked through this process that says, hey, I want to greet you and welcome you and make and calm you down and put your guard down. And then I want to find out what your needs are. So I'm going to go into a discovery phase and I'm going to find out, and good people that will close the sale and close the deal with you are going to ask you a lot of personal questions,
Yep.
because they're going to use that as bullets and ammunition at the end when they're going into the closing. Then you're going to get hit with a bunch of feature and benefits. This will change your life. This will make everything easier. This will calm the kids down. They'll never, like, the hopes and dreams and the rainbows are going to be showered upon you. And then it comes down to overcoming your objections. Because if you never intended to really go all the way with somebody or make the purchase and you're just trying to research, they get you there because now you're going to come up with your concerns and objections. And now a good person will overcome that. And they're going to go back to that discovery phase with you. And they're going to say, well, don't you remember that you like really are stressed out about this and that's why you're kind of looking for that solution? Isn't this like exactly what you're looking for? And they get you to start saying, yes, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's like the 3S. And there's all these very strategic tactics that people get trained on and use. So when you sit there and you go, oh my gosh, right? Like I was so stupid. I could spent $400 and I don't know how that happened. And now I have to explain it to myself and to everyone else. It's not completely your fault, but now you know, and now you have to be aware of it. And now you have to understand that it's a part of everyone's process and that you got to maintain control. Now, what does that mean to us building in the blockchain? What we're finding is that a lot of people that come into this, if you have technology and you're building great missions and utilities, that's great. But teams are still teams and teams are still human and teams have limitations on their skill sets. And if you've never been in a retail environment, then you have a consumer mindset. So now when you're a leader of a blockchain project and you go, oh, I'm a CEO, but I can't afford a marketing CMO. I don't have a CMO. You're going to do your best. And your best is trying to replicate the kind of marketing that you have consumed as a consumer. But if you don't understand why that was positioned that way, that's where you fumble. And then what happens is you're going to market to investors as if they're consumers. And that's where we find a lot of preying and malicious entities coming in with the razzle dazzle. And they
Yep.
go, oh, if I want this project to succeed and I want people to come in and get a bag, I need to have a sizzle video. I need to have a commercial. I need to have these things. And what you're doing is you're marketing a product, but it's an investment. And so this is why it's important for educators and leaders to come in and help those who don't have an investment mindset, who are preyed upon as consumers and only have that exposure as the way to expose themselves and their community and such. We got to flip the script and empower them with investor marketing tools. How do you set proper expectations? How do you prove that your business is scalable? How do you provide enough information so that once you get that investor holds as your floor and is a part of the community and engages? I absolutely love this topic because I don't want to see people blame themselves, and I also don't want to see projects out there marketing as towards consumers when we want investors and builders in this space.
Yep.
That's that's a big part. I'm sorry, Dr. Tammy. That's a big part of why MNFT is looking to have that expo in Atlanta, right? It's not marketing to the crypto bubble at all because it is very much a bubble. I think to meet people where they're at, we have to first understand their barriers to savings, um, and understanding their barriers to their pathway for what financial freedom looks like for them, right? And so we have to start peeling back the layers based on emotion. We can only speak, all of us here, because we live in the United States. Outside of the United States, they have very strict laws when it comes to privacy and data, marketing, and these kinds of things, where it's not as strident here. And so, having this conversation, I really want to take the approach based on life experiences. I don't even want to talk about investment. I just want to talk about you being able to sit back and let us just share our experiences and say, hey, this is what worked for us, right? Are you considering getting a budget? One of the things that I talked about with Yomi today was that, okay, so you want, right? But what about need? And here's the thing about the wanting and the needing, right? All you have right now in this moment, and I can speak to this because Scott very much runs his business with integrity, and he would be the first person to talk about, if you can't afford to lose it, don't buy it.
Right.
Straight up, he's actually one of the very few people that I've met in this space that says flat out, bro, I'm telling you right now, right? If you cannot afford to lose it, don't buy it. Don't buy it. And as a business owner operating with integrity, you have to start peeling back those layers. And it starts with the emotion and what need are you trying to fill? Because that money you're spending is an emotional gratification and not a financial gratification.
Yep.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was going to address, was backing back just a little bit and talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is that ability to cope with that helps us to cope with difficult situations or emotional information, right? So when something emotional happens, it's the emotional intelligence. And recognizing and being able to regulate our own emotions is how we really come up with solutions for this, because there are different motivations for buying, whether it's pride, whether it's affection for your family. Your mom really likes jewelry, so you're going to buy her jewelry, whether it's vanity, whether you want to just fashion and you just want to imitate, the fashionistas of the world, right? Whatever that is, there's so many reasons that we're motivated to buy. And until you know that and know yourself, I'm really big on knowing yourself, knowing who you are and where you're going. And that really helps you. So I will say that I am not a shopper. I'm probably a rare person in this world, especially quote unquote, the stereotypical woman who hates to shop. And so I hate shopping. And so I don't have that emotional response. Mine is really based on my budget and sometimes the weather, if it's good weather, because I don't like driving in bad weather. But but otherwise, it's not based on that. But I know that there's motivations for buying. Like even in those situations when I do buy, I know when I decide to choose something, and if it's within my budget, what I choose is based on those different motivations, right? And so I think that we're talking about really helping people understand just how do you recognize and regulate your own emotions? What are your coping mechanisms for that? Because that's what it is. We have a lack of coping mechanisms when it comes to emotional consumerism or emotional buying.
Man, that was a rabbit hole I went down, Dr. Tammy. I tried to be professional, right? And Scott, I'm sorry. You listen, ADHD issues, bro. I'm going to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
It's like, let me get a word in, you women.
Oh, he already knows.
You women of crypto.
We told him beforehand, bro, are you sure you don't need some backup? Because, before, right?
I remember that.
Yes. The thing is, Dr. Tammy, I'm so glad that you talked about that, because here I go, emotional consumerism. Oh yeah, okay. Let's first look at it, define it and break it down. And I was like, whoa, emotional intelligence came up, right? Emotional literacy. And I'm like, this is opening up a whole new world. And no, Carmen, it's not going to make me stop sending you requests for you to send me ETH to buy NFTs. Okay. That's not going to happen. Let me say that right now. But you are so right, Dr. Tammy. It's a whole new way. But here's the thing, the beauty in going down that rabbit hole, I became aware. And that's all I really want people to walk away with. I became aware. Yeah.
And you got to be strong too, because emotions are emotional. So I'll give you an example. Like it sounds easy to just be like, oh, just control your emotions, but it's not that easy, because we care and we love for people. So when I emotionally transfer money to Mistress when she says she needs to go support an NFT project, and I immediately regret it, but it happens. But here's like for example, I worked in diamonds and gold, right? So if a guy comes in and he's very unemotional and he's got his budget and he's like, I'm gonna propose to my girlfriend and I have this budget, I can guarantee you that we are going to be on the other side of the counter being like, "But, she's worth everything. This is your one and only marriage, and we're going to open up every faucet to empower you to identify all your buying power, right? So now I'm moving them into, let's run your credit, let's get a credit card, let's go into who we can call to, find the rest of the money that you need. It happens at car places, it happens with your home, it happens with jewelry, it happens in even the tiniest things. Would you like fries with that? It is the, are you even hungry? Oh, you're really hungry? Okay, this isn't enough. So we got to get you more. And this is my recommendation. It's not easy. So it's truly you making a decision to stick to what you got, doing your research as much as you can beforehand, and going in with a plan and sticking to it, because you got to believe in that you planned it, and that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
Scott, what about um, self care being a part of that? So remember, Yomi and I issued you a challenge last week, and that
Uh-huh.
challenge was taking that self care time.
Yep.
So you can't tell me, oh, I worked out. No, no,
Well,
no.
technically it's self-care,
Uh,
and
and,
I,
uh,
I have
uh,
been doing it all week, so it's been nonstop. Um, but I have been, taking a little bit of downtime, getting back and caught up on some reading, because I used to read a lot more, but my time gets minimized quite a bit in this space, and then with real world and family and everything else. So I did start a couple of books. But yeah, I mean, I'm taking a little bit of time for myself. But I mean, that's who I am. I always have to be doing something. And if you talk to Megan, she'll tell you, I can't just sit and do nothing. I have to have something to do. And that's just me, right? Um, but yeah, and I mean, going back to what Carmen was saying and Dr. Tammy, and even you, Rochelle, um, salespeople are trained to identify with the customer. They're trained to, associate with them, become, relationable, so they can relate to similar instances. They befriend their customers and break down that, barrier to get them to buy. But, for me, and I've had a good portion of my life in sales, that I am probably the easiest sale anybody will ever make when I'm ready to buy, right? It's when I decide, hey, I need to look at getting something, I will just start, doing research, and I'll even go visit a place. And if it's a place where they work on commission, they come up to me and they're like, hey, how can we help you today? I'm like, give me a card. I'm not buying today. When I am, I'll come back and see you, and when I do go back, it's, I need to talk to this guy. I want that, that, and that. Let's go. And I'm in and out. I just would rather not, go through that whole spiel and whatnot, because, I've experienced it. I've delivered it. And it's just,
You
yeah.
just can't wear that sweater. You
Right.
just can't wear that. So don't bother me. I'm just reading
don't
it.
bother me.
Oh,
Yeah.
My favorite sweater. I
When you
fully
go in the first time, wear that one, and then when you go the second time, don't wear it.
yeah. Um, I am not a shopper. I go through this whole spiel sitting in the parking lot of Walmart, talking to Yomi or talking to Carmen, going, "Yeah, I gotta go in here." I've
I
been to
like going to buy expensive things in like hobo clothes.
Yeah.
because then I'm okay with the perceptions, and I'm okay with
Yeah.
them making snap judgments and unconscious bias decisions to
Yes.
either try hard or not try hard with me.
Yeah.
And it actually helps me avoid that emotional buy, because now I have the freedom and I don't really have them coming at me because they think I got nothing. And then and you do see a lot of wealthy people take that route.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Big time. Big time. I think you know, when we first sat down with the committee and started talking about what we wanted the takeaways from the expo to look like, what was the value, right? What was the value? Um, it really became clear for us um, that value had to be impactful, and in terms of having people not only one recognize what they can do versus what they can't do, right? And make sure we lay out the information in a format that is bite size accessible, right? And then the call to action after, right? And that's why, I really fangirled out this week when I spoke to Dr. Tammy and say, I needed you to lead the way on that call to action, right? I needed people to be able to have access after the expo to say, okay, I heard you, I listened, I did my needs and my want list, right? What's next? And I think that because I've been looking at a lot of these, you know, let's teach you how to build wealth. And I'm like, bro, come on, seriously? It's consistency. It's doing the same thing over and over and over and over again with the understanding that that goal in mind. And I utilized Scott tactic today on Yomi, and she didn't even notice. Scott tactic is start with the end goal in mind. So when she talks about, man, I gotta go to this job, I'm like, that job paycheck pays for that new door that you want. So every time before you curb that negativity at the door, right, straight up, just, and this is how you flip the script. You flip the script by saying, yeah, another 8 hours gonna get me that door. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm pumped, right? Let's go. Because you're starting with the end goal in mind, right? Instead of, oh my God.
Well, and I think that a lot in this space is starting with that end goal, but I don't think, and maybe it's my educator brain, but I don't think people ever go back to where the person is. Like, we want to go in Web3, we want to go into crypto, want to jump there, but one, they don't know about Web2 to get in Web3. They don't even know about basic financial literacy to move into crypto or any other investment, right? So we've got to, that idea that you mentioned earlier about starting where they are. I think we show them, like, this is where we're headed. That's great, but we also, what I find with educators in this space is they never go back to where the person is and pick it up there. And it's all about, and I think I mentioned this when we were on Twitter, about differentiation. Like, it's not only about teaching and learning, but it's also our community. Like, you've got to decide, like, who's this audience? You can't speak to every audience the same way or every person the same way. You can't start at the same point. You can't have this template on this is how I'm going to teach it, and this is how I'm going to show the people the way, no matter what it is we're talking about. And I think that's where I see a lot of disconnect in this space. Is like, you got to start. Some people, especially the age groups, a baby boomer, you will not talk to them the same way as a Gen Xer, and you won't talk about it the same way as Gen Z. I will say Gen Xers are the amazing, because we knew Web 1, 2, and 3. I'm like, we've been through all of it. We've been through every last bit of it. So we've seen it all. But some of the other generations haven't, and so you speak to them very differently.
Yeah. Yep. But that's the excitement, I think, right? On the build. That's the excitement, I think, that I'm really looking forward to, because, we have it twisted. We think we're teaching the kids. The truth is, this is their time. This is their 1000%. This is their time. My son in 2014 is who introduced me to crypto. In 2014, I came into this space full time, in 2017, right? So, when you take a look at all of it, and you say we got to go back, you're 100% correct. And it's that one size fit all model that we're trying to break, right? Because we know it don't work. See, we know it does not work. That idea of I'm going to teach you the shortcut to success so you can have this big house, so you can have this fancy car. No, we know that's not it at all. The shortcut to success is just simple. It is consistency, consistency, consistency. It
Yep.
means doing the same thing every single day for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years to get you where you need to go. And so I think once we start peeling back the layers, talking about the emotional intelligence required to create the mindset necessary to manifest the financial freedom we want, it's a whole different ball game now, because you're coming in self-aware, you're coming in fully empowered to say, this is what I need, this is what's important to me, and this is what I will do versus this is what I want.
Yep. And to touch on what all of that is the get rich quick schemes, they prey on emotional consumerism.
Yes.
All right. You have just, missed the bill, you couldn't pay it. You see yourself going down this whole, like what we talked about last week with, quicksand. You start getting sucked into this quicksand and you're sinking and you're grasping for whatever you can reach. And then you see this guy promising or girl promising, you can be wealthy with these 5 easy steps, right? And, it's like, oh my gosh, I need that, and it only costs X amount of dollars. So it's like, and it just makes you sink faster. And also going back to, mindset and taking you back to the beginning, the blog post that was posted on the MNFT page today is about how to gain free education. I don't know if anybody has looked at that or read it, but,
no, but that's my jam.
Yeah. So,
I love talking about that.
it will relate to, what Yomi was, telling Rochelle about having to go to work. Well, it's all a matter of the outlook of the employer. When you go and get a new job, you have to train for that job, whether it's a day, a week, a month, whatever it may be, to learn the skill set to do that job. But, are you satisfied with that? Or do you want to expand your knowledge and learn what the person who's training you knows and, go in that direction and absorb as much as you can from your employer at no cost? They're actually paying you to do it. Right. So, I mean, if you guys haven't read it, take a look at it. It kind of touches on everything from, the person that works in an office to the person that works at the fast food restaurant. And, I actually know somebody that started as a bag boy at a local grocery store. And now he is head of the Northeast division of buying meat for that corporation. Right. Yes. And he's making 6 figures, a year, but he started at that minimum wage bagging job. And through wanting to learn more and taking everything they were giving him, and they even ended up paying for some college, for him as well to get to that position. So there are opportunities there for everybody, no matter how bad the job is. It's just, you have to open your eyes and accept that and take that in, rather than, oh man, I got to go do 8 hours flipping burgers. And geez, I really don't want to do that. The place sucks. I come home, my skin's all greasy, whatever. You can't think that way. You have to think, what can I do to get to that next step? What can I learn to get to that next step? And I do share a personal experience I had, when I was in high school and, I was working at a restaurant, and how I excelled and got offered a position, but ended up turning it down and going a different direction. But, it also is a matter of, anticipation, anticipating the need and anticipating what your employer wants. And you can only do that if you know what your job is and what your company does. So there's a lot of things in that article that I think encourage everyone to look at. But again, off topic, let's get back on to emotional consumerism, because that was like far left
It was
field.
the commercial break. No, I don't think it was.
Commercial break.
Because one of the things that I think that keeps coming up when we have these conversations is to remind, not everyone has the means to invest, save, and do all this, or even to do this emotional spending, right? And so part of that is generating income at a level that's safe and appropriate for where you are. And part of that could be, right, is what you're talking about, making sure you're competitive, because now some of those jobs are being taken by robots, right? So we have, this machine learning and robotics and all those things that now we have to consider and so to remain competitive and to earn the money that you need to invest in crypto, or, even do those impulsive buys, or, which we're trying to prevent. But even if it's part of your budget, you need a budget to do that, right? You need something some income a part of that budget and not just expenses. So I think in a roundabout way, I think that's actually not too far off.
I think you're spot on when you're talking about here's the thing for me, right? A lot of it really comes from developing a healthy mindset. And this was not, I'm enlightened, bro. This was hard work, right? I'm 50. This was hard work.
Living life, yes.
But this was also, and this is why Carmen and I are arm in arm. This was also utilizing my circle of influence to help me learn, grow, and thrive, right? It's our ability, like, on the Queens of Crypto, what we do, the community that we have in each other, right, as team members. We wouldn't have had that outside of Web3. To be accepted as who we are with all our frailties, because we're all perfectly flawed individuals, right? And it's me coming to Carmen and having a serious discussion about, what's going on in my life, and her helping me navigate how to get out of that funk, how to, set the right mindset. And it's the same thing that we do for each other. So while we can talk about emotional consumerism, the problem is, what do you have in your circle of influence to keep reinforcing you having the healthy mindset, right? And so Yomi and I'm really sorry I had to jump in a meeting with her, because I was killing it, Scott. Bro, I was killing it, right? Because she, Yomi, she was coming back. She was like, but what? But this. And I was like, she was killing it. And so I was scrambling. But, that's a part of who we all are here. It's that realism that I think that we're bringing to the table that can invite anyone in, right? That can invite anyone in to sit and let's have a genuine conversation about flipping burgers and trying to create wealth out of nothing, right? Because at that point, all you're doing is putting food on the table, if you're lucky, and paying your rent. So where do we find the avenue to help create that wealth out of nothing? That article that you wrote, Scott, that's a big part of it. Is also being realistic in taking a look at our circumstances and engaging the help necessary to learn, grow, and thrive.
Yep. Be a sponge. Take in as much information as you can, learn everything you can, and anticipate a need and provide it, right? That's, well, again, another topic, another space. But, going back to the whole emotional consumerism aspect of the conversation, because that's what this episode is all about. What steps can we take to help us prevent, when I walk into the crystal store and I see this one, it's just calling my name. So, Scott, buy me.
You better buy it. You better buy it.
Oh, by the way, Dr. Tammy and Carmen, let me clue you in. We are looking we're looking for a no friend. Scott is not our no friend. Yeah, he's not our no friend.
Not a good no friend.
Yeah. Megan is just as bad. Okay, Megan is just as bad. We are
So, Mistress, does that mean I can't be an enabler anymore? And when you ask me for
no, no,
that
no,
to
no.
buy
That
into
doesn't
the
apply to you at
NFT
all, Carmen.
project,
No,
say
no,
no.
no,
That
no,
that does apply to you. That applies to you,
no.
Carmen.
Yomi
It
said
applies
so.
to
Yeah, that's
you.
right, right?
But I'm gonna twist this up here. So Carmen, what you have just explained is actually a strategy for emotional buyers.
Yes.
Is to make buying inconvenient. So
Yeah.
of course you have to deal with Rochelle, but
Well, I gotta give my credit card and put it in
right,
the freezer in a block of
right.
ice and make it hard, right? So,
But
Like,
part of it
legitimately,
is
those
making the
NFTs.
buying inconvenient, right? So whether that is taking your credit card. So while you're in that store for those crystals, don't have your credit cards on you. Like put them outside of your wallet. And even now we don't talk about it, but we have wallets on our phone that have our credit cards in it. Like it's also like removing the access. So it's inconvenient. So you have to drive home and that gives you more time to think. Like that's actually deleting apps, removing your credit cards, all of that, giving it to someone else to either approve your buying. I know Karma, she's probably asking you for your money to buy an NFT for you, but it just made me think that is the way.
Wait
like,
a second, is
that's
that how it's
actually the
supposed to go
strategy.
down?
Dr. Tammy, what about just enjoying the experience? Because for Yomi, she just loves being around crystal. So what about just changing it from have to buy it to I'm going to treat myself on my lunch break and go take a look and enjoy the ambience that it's offered there.
Perfect. So, but she doesn't
okay?
need any money on her though. No credit cards. No.
I ain't about to do that.
Take her Cash App off her phone.
Well, for one thing, there are no crystal shops around me, so that's why I came up with the idea of just opening one of my own, so I could just buy all the crystals I wanted, and it would be okay. It's a legitimate reason to surround myself with crystals all over the place, and it's okay if people come in and buy a few. I of course I will have some that are exclusively mine that they cannot have.
I'm all about monetizing your purpose and monetizing those things you love. So, hey, I'm all for that. So I think that's also a strategy too. Surround yourself, but sell them.
Yes,
make a little profit.
I do like that. I do like that idea that entrepreneurship, the word, can be tied to a passion, right? It can absolutely be tied to a passion. And legitimately, when I beg, because I do that, I will tell you right now, Dr. Tammy, I hold no ETH on any of my wallets. It's
so perfect.
Yeah, it's staked deliberately, so I have to go ask, and it's usually either Carmen or Habib, and they communicate behind my back, right?
Well, from what I've heard about you and NFTs, that is perfect. That you are a perfect example of what emotional consumers should do.
Yes. But legitimately, we do buy it out of, at least I tell them that it is the Queens of Crypto wallet, and we're doing it. Yeah, that's what I tell them. We're doing it to support our community, right? But all of that is tied into the fact that there's so many ways that we can look at it, and I didn't think about that, Dr. Tammy, until you brought it up. Monetizing that purpose. We need to coin that. Monetizing that purpose. So if you have that passion, that's absolutely a great way to look at it, because now you're fulfilling that emotional need, because one, you're aware of it, but you're also aware that it needs to make money for you as well. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just picture Yomi's crystal shop now. I like that one over there. Oh, that's my favorite $10,000. I'm sorry, I'm picking on you a lot tonight, Yomi. I apologize.
I'll take care of it for you later, Yomi.
Yeah, but those are all good points. Leave the money out of it. Go in, look, explore what the options are, and leave and think about it. Makes a lot of sense. And surrounding yourself, as an entrepreneur with the product, will also make that subside a little bit for you. Years back, I was in the music industry, and at one point in time, I had close to 40 guitars. I had, just about every instrument you could possibly imagine. And now I am down to about 10. So, but it was one of those things that I was very passionate about. At the time, I loved looking at them. I loved playing them. And there was always one that I had to have, it was like, oh, that's so gorgeous. I got to figure out a way to get that. And I would, right. But yeah, I mean, moving ahead several years, I've played just about everything there is. I've had the experience on them. And, the one I consistently go to is a $500 guitar that, is the one I play all the time out of the 10 that I have. Right. So it's like, do I really need the rest? But that's something that I didn't know back when I was buying my second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 20th, right? Coming home with a guitar case, and Megan's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, you got to see this. Look what I got."
And Scott, I think between you and Rochelle, y'all just says, I don't know if this is an aha or just me figuring it out slowly. I'm slow today, but I think that that's something else we've been touching on today that I don't know if we've really clarified, is that sometimes we have those things that we collect. Like we have that one thing, and even Yomi, because her crystals, right? There's that one thing that we have, but I think it goes back to like, that's okay, but you just got to know the parameters for that. Like, is it in your budget? Do you have that budgeted? Do you have money for that particular at that moment, right? And do you need it right then, or is it necessary to buy it today because it's on sale, or is it just you think you should buy it? Like, it's just being able, like I said earlier, to recognize and regulate, like, why am I buying it today? It doesn't mean you can't buy it, because if that's
your life.
I'm like that with books. I'm like that with books. I just buy. So yeah. So, we all have that thing. I think that's okay.
and when I sent her that request, it was buy 2 get 1 free, and she ignored it. She
was like, not today.
Yeah. And yet, you know what? That's exactly what she said. But here's the thing that I really want people to understand. We're from diverse backgrounds here, but we share that same passion for education. We share that same passion to help people understand how to live their dream, right? It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it also explains the dynamic of who we are. And we know that we need to have certain things in place, right? Last week, Scott had talked about his relationship with Megan, and as his wife, his life partner, what helped him navigate being depressed over his finances was having someone who can talk to. And so when we talk about emotional consumerism, and we giggle and we laugh over the things that we're obsessed with, right? The truth of the matter is, I still have Carmen in my ear going, hey, these are the things that we need to be responsible for. So, if we want to support that community, we can't buy into that right now because we have business expenses, right? So while we giggle and laugh over that, we still have within our wheelhouse, in our circle of influence, the people that we can trust to help us curb back, right? And so that's really what I want people to walk away with too. You're not in this alone.
Yes.
Right? You're not in this alone. Like you heard of Dr. Tammy in her books. I see it.
That's mine.
Yes, I'm going to be asking, right? Like, what book you bought, right? What book you bought? Megan and I share an obsession for reading. I love to read. I'm never going to say the topic out loud.
It's all right, whatever it is, as long as you read, it's all good.
Yeah, but this is where I save money, because I love the feel of books. I love the feel of books.
Me too.
But I couldn't afford it. Books got more expensive. So now I'm satisfied with my Kindle subscription, which is only $10 a month. I even cut back on my audios because it just got, it was just unrealistic with the price point and what I got for it Whereas I would just wait for it to come out in Kindle, right? And that's where I navigated the need and the want, and understanding that my budget only extended so far. I didn't want to overextend myself, because when I reduce my financial stress, my happiness meter goes up.
Yep.
Right? My happiness meter goes up. So, instead of me going out and buying that beautiful there's something so sexy about a hardcover book, the way it smells and feels. I kind of had to say, okay, you see, she's not allowed. She's not, she's not allowed, right? um, but that's the beauty of this conversation. So what I would ask our listening audience to do is go back, take a look at your circle of influence.
Yeah.
Take a look at the people in your circle. Are they amplifying your energy? Are they draining your energy? Are you on the same path where you can sit and have real, genuine conversations, and talk about how you can help encourage each other to grow and thrive? Because that's the goal, thriving. We don't want to just survive. We've done that. I've been doing that for years. I'm ready to thrive. So it's important to make sure you're paying attention to who's in your circle. And you could always find any one of us on Twitter, right? I mean, jump in. We'll give you that positive energy, man. Yep. We'll give you that positive energy. Any one of us on any given day, you can always find us. Shoot us a DM. It's not financial advice. I'm not a therapist, but what I can tell you is, man, if your happiness meter is at all-time low, I'll be happy to share mine and offer some encouraging words.
Awesome. Yep. I love that.
And touching on that circle.
Pretty good.
Oh, go ahead, Carmen.
I was going to say we've had some pretty good confession sessions, because I know we got crystals, we got NFTs over here. Mine is school supplies. So like if I want to go do something new, I need a new notebook. I always need pens. Like I can't start something unless I have the little tools, and they all got to be new. So I'm vulnerable in like a stationery store.
Oh, you like notebooks too? I like notebooks.
Killing the trees. You're killing the trees.
You just said that you want like a hardcover book.
Hello, and I guess I'm killing trees too.
Yes.
Okay.
Terrible.
And whenever we can always give thanks when we get that book and that notebook, and we whisper to it and we say, I just want to thank the tree that gave me this. I just want to thank the tree. So just be grateful.
Just honor it.
You give
honor
the
thank
tree.
the naked animal that gave me my yarn.
Oh yes. Oh wait. Carmen over here giving me up on NFTs and OG Gish. Let me just tell you, I fully agree with you on NFTs when it's emotionless. I'm only purchasing if my money is making money. So I feel you on the ROI. He had a question in the chat. I feel you on the ROI 100%. My NFT addiction, is simply all about extending support for the communities that we engage in, the Queens of Crypto, right? So when they come on, we typically tend to buy. We hold it just because we know it's important. When you're building a community to show, hey, I'm not just here as your mouthpiece, I'm actively purchasing as well. And whether that's 1, 5, Carmen won't let me buy anything more than 1. It's never with an investment value in mind, but showcasing support. I fully agree with you. I only hold 1 NFT project that I have offline, because again, I need my money to be earning money. So just want to throw that tidbit out there to you. My NFT addiction has nothing to do with money. Because it's not worth anything.
It's all emotional.
Yes.
It's the love for community.
Yes. Absolutely 100% all emotional. Yeah. That is the truth. That is the truth.
And I think as long as you're aware of that, I think that's part of it, right? We can't eliminate it. It's just being aware and being able to manage it. So I think that's it. So
I think the strategies that people use to get people to buy are going to evolve and change. Change is always just going to happen. Propaganda. New strategies have to happen. And so there's good news here. And also, too, when you take a look at being preyed upon as a consumer, what happens when you elevate and you become an entrepreneur and this becomes a part of the day and you're like, how do I get people to buy? To a self-awareness. So we're watching tons of project builders and leaders come into the Web3 space. We know that the internet is giving business owners tons of tools to monetize their own skill sets, open up small businesses, get a side hustle. I'm not talking about selling feet pictures, but I'm talking about like all the other different tools, right? So our technology is giving us the empowerment to have more control, and because of that we're going to start to just see kind of a shift in the way that we operate, because now it's not, in 20 years ago, the big brands that can afford TV marketing and internet marketing and things like that, it's everywhere now. It's almost like we're at a saturation point. But then again, our behaviors are going to elevate with that too. So we're going to get more, um, you know, uh, less emotional, actually, less emotional about things. And we're going to be sticklers. We're going to be like, well, I see tons of soda commercials. I'm going to have to go and do my own research. Right. So these are kind of like the milestones in which we're at. So when you sit down and you go, oh my gosh, this is a problem. No, this is our journey to the other side of whatever the other side is going to be. If all of us have control over our own wealth, if all of us have our own businesses, if our employers have to interact with us in certain contracts and stuff because now we're our own entities and our own banks, guys, imagine what that's going to look like. It's not the machine that works now won't work in that future. So it is a part of the journey. We're getting smarter. It's already proven out there. But you do have to stick to your guns and have discipline. Nobody can buy that.
No, not at all.
Consistency is the word of the day. Consistency. No shortcuts to success. Um, it really does require the work, and it requires you first understanding that emotional intelligence, right? I just love that you said that. Understanding that emotional intelligence, and then peeling back the layers on why you do certain things. And then I do believe that you have the ability to trick the mind. If you understand for yourself that it's instant gratification, this is how you do it. So if it's that instant gratification, start training yourself to extend the period before gratification, right? So if you know that at 8 p.m., your time, you're off work, you've had dinner, it's me and Netflix with a glass of wine, right? Put the hard things that you hate to do first, because you're starting with the end goal in mind, right? So at the end of this 8 hours, I'm going to be free. I'm going to have my glass of wine. I'm going to watch Netflix and I'm just going to chill. So start with the end goal in mind when you wake up that morning and you go, whatever that job looks like for you. I think there's a narrative now where it's popular culture to hate the job. It's popular culture to hate the job. You can scroll through TikTok and you see all these people talk, they're sitting in their car and they're making these TikToks before they go into their job. And I'm just thinking, man, what a way to spend your day. I can't be caught up in that toxic emotion. Can you imagine being in that toxic emotion for 8 hours? It's a wonder that you don't feel accomplished. It's a wonder that you don't feel happy because you're allowing yourself to stew in it. You kind of have to trick yourself into changing the narrative, changing the mindset, and breaking it down where it's starting with the end goal in mind. I just love that Scott said that too. It's a big part of how I get motivated to start my day now, because I know, like, Danny was like, "Could we meet tomorrow?" I'm like, "No, bro." I'm like, "I work on weekends." And he was like, "Since when?" I said, 3 months ago. Like, since right?
Since I decided.
Yeah. That's my end goal in mind when I wake up, because when you're a business owner, and you're working for yourself, it's important. That structure is important, right? So there's nobody to motivate you. You got to be motivated to get up and do the work. So when I wake up on a Monday morning, it is with the end goal in mind. When I get to Friday, that means devices go down, right? That means no Mac, no iPad, no iPhone. I am not responding to anything. That Saturday and Sunday, miss me, right? I'm not in the Twitter space. I'm not tweeting anything. You could go to our official accounts. Ain't nothing getting tweeted on Saturday and Sunday, unless it's a mint, then But but and so I start Monday morning with the end goal in mind that hey, I'm gonna get through today, and then I'm gonna get through tomorrow, and that's gonna get me to Friday. And when I get to Friday, I get to degen out at 11 o'clock with Danny on Web3 Radio. We should call it Delete This, and I get to hang out with Scott and tease him. And I miss Yomi because she went back to work, so we don't get to spend as much time together. So this has become part of my pleasure cycle, to be honest. I'm spending this hour here when Scott tries to carol us and keep us in the time frame for 1 hour. Like, dude, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, we might have to just start saying, it's 2 hours on Friday night because there's so much to unpack. But I look forward to being able to talk about my stresses of the week, right? What tools did I utilize, and what tools that I could continue to utilize to get me through tomorrow as well.
And I like that you're saying that, because I think the second piece of that, well, if we're wrapping up, right, and talking about how you approach this, I think if you have where you are in that end goal, well, then you need a strategy. I'm really big on purpose planning. That's probably the main thing that I do as a strategist is purpose planning, no matter what it is, whether you're wanting to onboard into cryptocurrency, you want to learn about blockchain, whatever, you want to change your job or career. I'm about purpose planning. And so part of that is breaking down those things, your goals and those things within each day into smaller steps, right? And making sure that you accomplish things. So if you're going through your day and you're not liking it, what are some of those things that could motivate you, your goals for the next hour or until you get to lunch, whatever chunk you want to break it down in. But I think that when you're trying to achieve something, so if you're really trying to get a handle on your emotional consumerism and being an emotional consumer, how do you break that down? You can't, it's not going to change tomorrow. Being able to regulate your emotions is not going to change in one day because you've been doing it for however long you've been having money. And you had the money to spend. So it's about breaking that down into chunks. So what have we said today? So here's a call to action to think about, right? What have we said today that you can actually implement and start implementing now, right? Is it, thinking of creating those end goals, creating that vision. I think we have dreams, we have visions, and we have goals. And those goals then become reality because we change those into tasks. And so how do you break those down? And I think if you think about it like that, start there. And then decide, if something resonated with you, that's my thing right there. Then maybe that's something you need to investigate further or reach out to your community, your resources, or like Rochelle said, like to someone here that can help you with that. So
yeah, I just heard you volunteer, and I like to volunteer people. I just had a brilliant idea, Scott. So is there any way we can have these videos up on the website with the points, like Dr. Tammy just stated, call to action points for after viewing? Or if not on the website, is there any place here that we could put that in the chat at the end, so when they go watch it, they've got the call to action right after?
Yeah, we can definitely put it on the website. It's just a matter of inserting the video link afterwards. So super easy. And then underneath that, we can do all the time slots of where we touched on every aspect of the broadcast.
Well, we have to be so professional. I'd have just loaded it up there and just put he said, break it down.
Well, so there was so much we went over.
Like, here it is, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
like, that's it.
Watch the whole thing. You're going to find it somewhere in there. This is why he's chairman of the committee, right? He that detailed individual. Here's the takeaway for me as a business owner, as somebody who struggles at times with my kryptonite, ADHD superpower, right? My ability to put it on paper is why I have Yomi. Amanda, she give me the goods. Like, no, right? She put in my back, get it on paper. But I am learning. I'm learning those tools on how to put it on paper and then hold myself accountable. That, I think, for me, when you're talking about breaking it down into bite-sized pieces for my day, is what I'm going to take away. And when we come back next week, I'm going to be, okay, Dr. Tammy, this is what I tried, because I'm a tester. If you say try it this way, I'm gonna try it this way, and I'm gonna tell you if it worked or it didn't work for me, right? So I'm gonna utilize those tools, and when we come back next week, we're gonna see how me being my best neurodivergent self handled my kryptonite, right? Let's see if I can get past that.
Yeah, she's gonna make it a habit, and she's gonna just leave her wallet at home and need to go to the store for like something she absolutely does need, like milk, and she's like, I don't have my money, and then she's gonna be cursing you the whole way back home.
She can take $10. Emergency, have the emergency fund there.
Why does everybody look so comfortable? Do you guys not see me in my hoodie and not my warm robe because it's cold, Scott? What? Why are you guys not cold? Look at me. I'm all wrapped up.
Are you outside?
Huh? No, I have the window.
Are you okay.
Yeah. I'm inside. And I'm in Texas, so it's.
Are you in Texas? Yeah. No,
like spring here.
I have the window open. I have the fan on because the minute it gets to a certain temperature, I get stuffed up in nosebleeds. So now, to keep that regulation, I probably shouldn't. Yeah, there we go. My neurodivergence again. Yeah. Before we, Scott, this is where you wrangle us in, buddy.
We're all going to bundle up next week. Yeah, and Carmen, did you want to say anything? And we'll jump to Yomi.
Have hope, guys. You gotta set an intention to make a change and then follow through. And so these things are just everyday life. I say adulting 1 star, but we still gotta go through. There ain't quitting that. But thank you guys so much for listening to us rant and my own TED talk in the middle of all that.
Absolutely.
It was a great one. You should do something with that content. I'm just saying.
Thanks.
I already know that I'm gonna get that call to action like every week. She's gonna be annoying me. Rochelle is gonna be annoying me about it every week, and she's probably gonna say something like, "Did you look at the video? I was there. What do you mean? Did I look at it? You need to go back and look at it again."
Yeah.
It it is this whole thing for me. It's a bit because my relationship with money isn't a very positive one. It has like, I consider it like a manic type thing. It has those up and down moments where it's good sometimes, and then when it's not good, it's just not good, and I'm not exactly sure how to get it back to the good spot and keep it there. So these sessions are therapeutic, and I I just find it difficult sometimes trying to I try not to compare myself to you guys because you seem like you already are in a good place, but for me, I'm trying to get there. So yeah, these sessions are difficult sometimes, but I know I need them. So I am grateful.
Absolutely. And just FYI,
no comparison.
I'm not in a good place.
We're a work in progress.
We are. And we're on our path to our end, but we're not there yet, right? So by no means, am I anywhere beyond where you're at, Yomi. I'm just at a different stage, right? So, one of the things that I have picked up is, with your circle of influence, a lot of times I've found personally, my family is bad influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not my immediate family, but my blood family. And, it doesn't mean you cut them out. It just means you limit your exposure to them, right? And you don't pay it no mind. You surround yourself with positive people like the ladies that are in this space tonight. And you constantly feed your mind with good energy, whether it's, books, audiobooks, videos, presentations, listening to speakers or watching, people talk about things on ways that you can improve yourself. And those are all things that'll put you on that right path. But yeah, I mean, emotional consumerism, I still pray to it, especially at Christmas time. We just came off of that holiday, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Big one.
Right. You have family, you have people that you have to buy something for, So you're going out there with the goal of, yeah, I just got to get them something. I don't know what it is, but when I see it, right, well, that's not the right mindset to go out and buy something, because then you end up spending more than what you were planning on spending in the first place. So those are all things that you have to take into account, and we're all works in progress. So it's not we know the way because we live the way. Well, we know the way because we made those mistakes, and we still make those mistakes, right?
We're still there. Yep.
Right, we're still there. So by no means, Yomi, and anybody watching this, what this is us sharing experiences, talking about topics that we all fall prey to, whether it is being seduced into something by a salesperson, or it's just you need something to feel good about and you want to spend money on something that really you don't need to spend money on. This is just trying to make you more aware. That's all. But yeah, with that, I thank you ladies for joining. This was a fantastic space. Lots of great information. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
What are we talking about next week, Scott? What's our homework for next week?
So next week, we're going to talk about the different crystal shapes. And
Let's do it.
Oh my God.
We have an expert on the call.
Dr. Tammy, can you join us next week again?
I cannot join you next week, but I'll definitely come back in the future.
Okay.
We'll talk offline. I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back, and Carmen. But Carmen,
I have a choice. I'm going to bully Carmen. She's my other half.
Well,
she got a choice.
Help, guys! I'm blinking.
Yeah.
I think the thing that you brought up earlier, Carmen, as far as projects and how they market their token, that is a space all on its own, or broadcast.
That's a conversation. That's a conversation.
So I think that's something that we definitely have to have you on when we do that. But yeah, I appreciate you ladies for joining us, and it's a great space. And Rochelle and myself, and hopefully Yomi and Carmen will be back next week, maybe more, right?
Yeah.
But with that, guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment in the comments below. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.